Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Making 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 36 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Jashin sealed inside of him. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was the legendary Uchiha X Namikaze over on Anime King 2 and enjoy that guys. And also, stay tuned for a brand new episode coming over on Anime King, which I hope you guys will enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Kaguya was currently waiting in her domain. She was a link that was connecting Naruto and Gaara, so Lucifer never knew about their secret conversations. As she was now waiting, she felt the air rumble, the sky quake, inside of her little dimension, as the seal was being ripped apart from the outside. As a hand ripped in and tear apart everything, as she saw him in all of his might standing there. Meanwhile, Obito was waiting for the perfect opportunity, as things were not going his way so far, but whatever was down there was something he could use. He remembered what Naruto said, World Eater. As Naruto arrived with Kaguya, who was dressed differently, she wasn't wearing her usual robe. As Naruto incinerated Zetsu, he was really getting on his nerves after all. He didn't fulfill his wish to bring back Kaguya. He was no longer important. As Naruto told Kaguya to give him a minute, with that he vanished. Next thing Obito knew, Naruto was behind him. Obito took himself away in his dimension, but Naruto appeared inside. As Naruto granted him what he wanted and brought back Ring. As he was about to leave until he started to laugh, realized that he wasn't a good person as he incinerated the entire dimension along with Obito. Meanwhile, at Konoha, Minato, in these times he had to make sacrifices, and that was doing anything for the peace that he had to achieve by killing Naruto. That is why, as he was currently with Orochimaru, Orochimaru showed him the things that he created. Nasty creatures with markings of the curse mark. They were no longer humans, their souls being tainted, corrupted. Not to mention somehow, Orochimaru was able to gather the souls from the afterlife, Edotenses. As Minato and Orochimaru was oblivious of what was going on, while he had the Edotenses of Nagato and a few others, even Jiraiya. So with that, they thought they were going to win this war. Someone also woke up the moment Kaguya was free. The Sage of the Sixth Path was confused. Somehow he was able to step into the mortal realm, as he had to find someone to pass his power off to so that he can guide them to defeat his mother. He didn't know what was going on, but the world felt wrong. Nature itself felt corrupted. He found someone, and that was Menma, as he was drawn to the boy to help him. Meanwhile, Kushina and Mito was speaking about current events when Menma arrived. They saw him, he had changed. His eyes were the most different, as Menma had become a completely different person. His power immense. Jashin and Yami was also ready, as they got their fear in orders as they move out. The day finally came, as Naruto stood with Gaara in front of the army. Well, it was just two people. The army was there, but they were not showing themselves yet. Minato and Orochimaru stood there, as Orochimaru brought out all the creatures using Minato Harashin to summon them here. As Naruto laughed, he opened the gates of hell as the demons and the creatures erupted. As the entire world felt off balance, tainted by evil and death, corruption, destruction was about to start. So yeah guys, that was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the play, check it over yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? Creatures that were only seen in nightmares stood behind Naruto. There were a lot of them. The whole bulk of them hadn't even come through the gates yet. Demonic wings, man-feral beasts, dogs that had several heads. There was many creatures. As Naruto stood there in front of his masked demon army, he had a smirk on his face. Gaara was currently sitting down in mid-air as she was floating in a chair, watching the event below her. There was another chair beside her, a throne, where her husband was supposed to sit. But instead he stood in front of Orochimaru and Minato. As Naruto's eyes wandered behind them, he felt the approaching force. They had stopped, waiting for the signal from these two, he supposed. Behind Orochimaru though, was strange abominations. Twisted human beings that had been experimented on. They would never be able to return back to normal, but now they were needed for this. Each of them had a strange mark on them, a finer tuning of Orochimaru's mark that gave him full control over them. Orochimaru was planning to use them to take over the Elemental Nation, but now he had to use them to help the Elemental Nation. Orochimaru wasn't done though, as he slammed his hands together. "Edo Tensei," he said. Several coffins rose up. Orochimaru was not hesitating as he brought out all the top heads. Uchiha Madara, Jiraiya, Nagato, all the powerful foes that fell in the past. Senju Hoshirama, Tobirama Senju. Minato turned his eyes towards Orochimaru. He never showed him this, but Orochimaru simply smiled. Minato had to think for the future, because once this was all over, he doubted Orochimaru being on their side. And these Edo Tensei would grant him great power in the long run. Yet that all was interrupted when Naruto started to laugh. Minato looked towards him. "What's so funny?" he said. His voice carried over the howling of the demons and the abominations. As Naruto held up his fingers, 3 fingers, there is 3 worlds that I have been acquainted with recently. One of them is a pure world, where all the good souls reside. One of them is a domain that the Shinigami has under his control. That is the only one I am unable to enter at the moment. But I can feel it, and right now it is empty of all the souls that were there. All those souls that were corrupted but not corrupted enough to enter Tartarus. Tartarus is a domain that Lucifer reside, where the twisted abominations, chaotic people like yourself, Orochimaru, would have ended up. And I took control over that, and took all the souls. And these that you see here are all the demons that had reside in that place. "Why are you telling us this?" said Minato, as he narrowed his eyes. Orochimaru looked towards his Edo Tenseis. Something was wrong. "You finally realize it, don't you?" A grim look came on Orochimaru's face as Minato was confused. What is he talking about? "This is impossible. My jutsu, it worked perfectly." "You mean I allowed you to think that it works," said Naruto. "That's what I wanted. That look on your face. I allowed you to go on with your plan of bringing back the dead, not realizing that I was the one that was controlling them to begin with." "Come to me," he said. All of the warriors moved away from the coffins and walked towards Naruto. Orochimaru tried to cancel a jutsu, but nothing he did was working. "You fool, their souls all belong to me." "That is what I wanted, so I allow you to believe that this would actually work." That stupid look on your face, said Naruto, when you realize that your most powerful assets of this army was taken away from you. Well, in terms of you humans. Minato clenched his fists. It's all a game to you, isn't it? In actuality, yes, said Naruto. Killing thousands, slaughtering innocents. It's all a game to you. Yes, I've said it already, said Naruto. Your death, your suffering is just fun for me. I've waited my entire life, waiting for the right moment where I can subjugate this entire world under my command. And soon enough that will happen. But before that, I'm gonna break all of you one by one. And then I'm gonna go to Konoha. And I'm gonna plummet it all into hell. I'm gonna decimate the village down to rubbles. I'm gonna wipe away all the homes, all the buildings. Few of your people will live, but they will be hunted by my demons behind me. For the rest of eternity, as humans grow as they born, they will live in a world of nothing but fear and chaos, where I will remain supreme, until every last person in this world has given up hope, until they are broken. Minato cursed at that. The situation was looking grim, as Orochimaru gritted his teeth. He never thought of this. As Naruto waved his hand, all the Edo Tenseis vanish. They will be used for later on, in my Coliseum. Minato narrowed his eyes. You will see soon enough, said Naruto. So how about we get this show on the road? As Orochimaru raised his hand and waved a single hand sign, the abominations rushed forward without hesitation. Rip them to pieces, boys, said Naruto. As the howls of demons could be heard as they flashed past Naruto. As Naruto floated back, as he sat down on his throne. Him and Gaara sat there watching the chaos unfold beneath them. As Minato and Orochimaru moved back. As Minato flashed towards the army, as Orochimaru made his distance. Meanwhile, Minato looked at the army with a grim look on his face. They were all there. A distance away from the actual battlefield, but they were all gathered. The front line was there to be the first one to attack. All the members looked grim as they knew. Them being a part of the front line meant they would be the first one to be slaughtered. They looked up in the sky as they saw the red sky spreading. The sun was blocked out. The place was illuminated in a red color, like it was almost raining blood. Minato came to a stop as he saw his wife. He saw Ame, and he saw Mito as well. As he came towards them, "What's wrong?" said Kushina. The Raikage was also standing there. Full of the Raikage was Temari Kankuro and Mei Terumi. The Edo Tenseis. Seems like he had control of them from the beginning. "What?" the Raikage said. "This was all a part of his damn game," said Minato. "He was playing us." "What about those things Orochimaru had under his control? They're still fighting. They're somehow holding back those creatures." "You saw them," said Kushina. "It's a lot of them," said Minato as he looked towards the army. "I won't lie. Many will die. But we cannot give up hope. We cannot let him get the world, no matter what. Because if he does, we're all doomed," he said lowly. The warriors didn't look all that ready to jump into battle, because they heard the screams, explosions, as their heart trembled and quaked in fear. Until Mito clenched her fists. "We can do this. This world is ours, not his." When she said that, there was something that came down as it crash landed in front of them. A strange demon. It had several arms. Mito sent her chains forward as it skewered the beast before ripping it apart. "Now, let's fight," she said. As a bit of hope and morale flooded into the people's heart as they saw that one of those demons were ripped to shreds. They all cheered in acknowledgement to move on. Minato looked towards his daughter with a smile. For a moment there, he was starting to lose hope. But as Ame grabbed Mito's hand and gave her a slight squeeze, as Mito gave her a nod, "Let's do this," he said. "Let's stop that bastard." As Kushina smiled towards her daughter, It was then as they moved over the hill, they saw them coming. The horde of demons, trudging towards the elemental nation last hope. They were fast. "Everyone, get ready," she said. As the demons rushed forward, the right guy got caked in lightning. Temari pulled out her fan, Kankuro pulled out his puppets. Minato pulled out his kunais. Everyone got themselves ready as they moved in, and the two opposing armies struck. Meanwhile that was going on, Orochimaru had stepped away from the chaos. As he watched everything below him, all of his abominations were decimated within minutes. He looked towards a massive attack guard that stood so no one could approach Naruto that easily. It was a dog. It had 3 heads. Saliva was dripping from his mouth. The saliva was melting the ground underneath it. It was acid. Orochimaru did not rush in, as Naruto was literally ignoring him. Despite him being so close, he was actually making out with his wife right there, completely ignoring his surroundings. The both of them broke apart. "You know," said Naruto, "you made me want to ignore this war and bring you back in the bedroom." "Well, we could have some fun. I mean, it's not like the war is going anywhere." "You know, you're right," said Naruto. "We could..." He paused. He then turned his head. "So you're here," he said. Standing there, well, actually floating, was the Sage of the Sixth Path. "You can see me," said Hagoromo. "Of course I can," said Naruto. "You're him. You're the one that brought back my mother, didn't you?" "Yeah, I'm the one that brought back Kaguya," said Naruto. "So, what's your problem? Are you here to tell me that your mother's a special flower and I must not taint her with my darkness?" said Naruto. Hagoromo narrowed his eyes. "You did this." "Did what?" said Naruto, acting oblivious. "The boundary between this world and another one is gone. You allowed me to enter this plane of existence." "Why?" "Oh, because I wanted you to pass on your power to a dear old friend of mine. Well, brother, actually." Hagoromo narrowed his eyes. "How could you have..." "This is my game," said Naruto, "not yours. So don't think that you're the one in charge, or that you're the clever person that's gonna change everything, because you're not. So why don't you go watch on the sidelines?" As Naruto flashed his hand, Hagoromo vanished like he was never there. Hagoromo found himself back in the spiritual world, as he was unable to enter back to the human world. This boy, he was 10 steps ahead of all of them. He just prayed that Minma and the others could somehow defeat him and stop his mother. Things were worse than he thought. As Naruto's eyes went towards the battlefield, even from here he could see what was going on. The countless deaths as shinobis from all other nations got ripped apart. Demons were being slaughtered, shinobis were being picked off one by one, flesh being torn, heads being severed. It was nothing but pure chaos. It was then that Naruto saw them. Well, if the others were the diversion, this was a strike team. As Orochimaru narrowed his eyes as he saw the team making their way. As Naruto saw her, bathed in darkness, Jashin as she walked. She was wearing a black bodysuit, tight in all the right places, black boots. As she walked, there was a mist of darkness following her. Her eyes were literally shining black. Her power had increased. Beside her, looking quite proud, like he could actually do something, was Menma. Menma had changed. He was different. One of his eyes had a plus inside of it. The other one had a Rinnegan. A Rinnegan with Tomos inside of it. Both half of the sage's power inside of him. Well, he has surely gotten an increase. The strike team, they must be calling themselves, as they walked towards Naruto, completely abandoning the others back there. Well, they had enough faith in them to win this war. "So, this is it, I presume," said Naruto, as he looked down towards them. My foolish little brother. And one heartless bitch. This is a team that's gonna take me out, he acts. Well, correct as usual. We're gonna be the one to kill you, said Jashin. You've changed, said Naruto. Where's your brother? He's with me. And my other siblings that escape your wrath. And all the other souls. Yes, from your brother's domain. I know, said Naruto. I can feel that it's empty. You suck all those souls up in yourself. You must be quite powerful. Indeed. Powerful enough to kill you. Well, if that is the case, then why are you here, Minma? I mean, compared to that, you're out of your league here. Because I'll be the one to take your head, said Minma. I promise you. And I'm here to fulfill that promise. After what you did. You mean after taking your girlfriend away from you, said Naruto. I know that's a bad brother act. I mean, I took your girl. You guys been together for a long while. But in reality it was all a, well, joke on my part. I mean, behind your back, many things has been happening and you didn't even know anything. I mean, all this time I was playing you for a fool. She was doing the same as well. You're too naive and soft, Minma. She wanted a real man. Shut your mouth, said Minma. Oh, why don't you mate me, said Naruto. Minma, don't lose your cool. He's just trying to rally you up, said Jashin. Oh. And why have you brought him here, said Naruto. I'm confused. You're a lot more powerful than him. In terms of power, he shouldn't even be here. Oh, I see. You want to use him as a distraction. So perhaps you could get a way in to kill me. But I'm afraid that's not gonna happen. Why not? Because Naruto won't be the one fighting you, said Gaara. As Minma turned towards her, I will. You? Said Jashin. Well, I have no problem here. You will die anyway. So if you want to die early, come. As Gaara laughed, you think it is that easy, huh? As she jumped off her throne, she crash-landed on the earth, creating a sizable crater. As she started to walk, the powerful demon Jashin, unstoppable malice and death, undefeatable. That is what you think you are, isn't it, said Gaara? Think you're untouchable? Well, let me prove you wrong. Gaara held out her hand. As a beam of darkness shot from it, Jashin crossed her arms as the beam slammed into her. It threw her backwards, but she was able to stop. She blinked in confusion, as the power surge was immense. She's not only a pretty face and a hot, sexy body, said Naruto. She's also powerful. Oh, thank you, honey, said Gaara, as she shot forward, breaking the ground underneath her. Jashin was off foot by her speed as she slammed into her. She picked her off the earth and threw her like a rag doll, as the both of them crashed over to the side. The impact of them hitting the ground, the crater was large. As Naruto then turned, the moment he did turn, Minma was in front of him, a Rasengan ardent in his hand, as Minma stood right on the hilt of his throne, as he brought the Rasengan down right towards Naruto's skull. Naruto reached up and caught his arm. No, sir, but said Naruto, don't kill him. Minma was confused. He then glanced behind him as he saw vicious teeth ready to sink into his flesh. The giant three-headed dog was currently about to devour him. Even if his arm was quick enough, he would have died before he hit Naruto. As the giant dog simply jumped down, crash landing back to the earth, as he stood right in front of his master's throne. You were sloppy there, Minma, leaving your back open. Oh, you thought he wasn't that fast. As Minma growled as he tried another Rasengan and brought it down as Naruto caught it. Minma let the Rasengan implode right in Naruto's face. A sizable explosion went off. The smoke cleared away as Naruto's face was completely unblemished, not even a scar. Whoa, That was pathetic. Minma was sent sailing as he crashed into the earth. As Naruto jumped off his throne, you know, as Naruto heard an explosion over their side, he looked as he saw 10 massive arms made from darkness drop down on Jashin. The explosion was devastated, shaking the very lands. As Gaara floated up in the air, she held up her hand as several demonic wings formed behind her. Those wings ejected from her back and turned into pointed edge. As she dropped them, they impacted in the earth. The explosion went all the way up into the sky. A plume of flames that swallowed the entire air. The place became hot. As the ground broke apart, magma spreading everywhere. Jashin picked herself up though, as she snarled. How the hell was this happening? She had no idea that Gaara was that strong. If she was that strong, how strong was he? She had the power of her other siblings instead of her, and her brother as well. She should be dominating this match, but yet, that wasn't going her way. Hey, lost in your thoughts, Gaara asks. Jashin held out her hand as the blade formed. You talk too much, as she shot forward. Meanwhile, Minma picked himself back up. The ladies are having a little fight over there. You know, I would love to go over and watch, but I doubt you would let me. You would try to interrupt me. As Minma, Rinnegan twirled. The next second, Naruto found himself unable to move. As Minma smirked, as he pulled a kunai and launched it forward. As it appeared right in front of Naruto, Minma appeared by grabbing his kunai. His kunai got coated in wind chakra as he dragged it right inside Naruto's chest, right where his heart was supposed to be. As Naruto looked down, so, that eye of yours gave you the ability to subdue your opponent. Momentarily, I see. You're done, said Minma. As he twisted the kunai as it enlarged, the chakra flew, tearing through Naruto's chest. Oh, is that so? Said Naruto. Hey, Minma. Minma blinked as he looked around. As he saw Naruto sitting on his throne, Minma was confused. What the? You really thought it would be that easy, said Naruto as he sat down on his throne. His head was resting right on his palm. I'm disappointed. Minma held out his hand. Universal pull as he yanked Naruto right off the throne. A Rasengan formed in his hand as it started to change, the color becoming a more silver color. As he drove it forward, but Naruto reached out and slammed his hand against the Rasengan as the thing exploded, launching Minma back. As Naruto looked towards his palm and brushed his arms off. Disappointing as usual, said Naruto. Minma snarled as he got back to his feet. He raised his hand. Almighty push, he said. As the entire ground exploded, the force decimated everything, and yet Naruto did not even budge an inch. He stood there, with a calm look on his face as everything was blown back, his hair, his clothing. Now enraged, Minma threw several kunai as he landed on Naruto. Minma flashed as he appeared as he slammed a feet right in Naruto's throat. He appeared behind Naruto and slammed another in the back of his head. He then appeared in front of him and slammed an uppercut right under his chin. He then flashed above Naruto and drive an ox kick right towards his head, slamming Naruto's feet in the ground. Minma then appeared in front of him, his hand crackling with lightning as he drove forward. His hand slammed against Naruto's chest, like he was hitting steel. Minma jumped back. Was that all? Naruto asked, as Minma clenched his fists. I'm just getting started, he said, as he flashed Yuhan sign, collaboration jutsu. Steamy pit, he said, as he released a combination of wind and fire. As the attack came in like a tidal wave. As Naruto went through Hansen of his own, just to mock Minma. Collaboration jutsu. Steamy pit, he said. Minma's eyes went wide, but Naruto did not perform the same jutsu. He just used a name. Hellfire broke out of the ground and swallowed Minma's attack, forcing Minma to jump back. The next second, several rods were formed around Minma, as he launched him towards Naruto. The rods came down with incredible speed as they stabbed all around him. As Naruto watched the rods, they all connected to each other as a black barrier formed. Minma raised his hand as the barrier started to shrink, and close upon Naruto as they started to crush him together, as Minma decided to crush him under the weight, until Naruto released a small exertion of his power. The rods were sent sailing as ground erupted around him. As he stepped forward, "If that is all you got, Minma, I must say, even with the Sage of Six Path power flowing inside of you, half and half, I'm truly disappointed." As Minma raised his hand as a wrestling shuriken formed, as he twirled it towards Naruto. Seeing it coming, Naruto held out his hand as a black spear formed as he slammed it in a wrestling shuriken, obliterating it. He then flashed in front of Minma as the both of them raised their feet. Their feet connected as a sonic boom went off. As Naruto then reached out to grab him by the throat, but Minma ducked, bringing up his leg as Naruto caught it and lifted him up before slamming him into the earth. Minma smirked as he used the opportunity as his Rinnegan was able to trap Naruto in place. 3 rods formed in his hand as he drove them towards Naruto's chest. Before they could impale him though, Naruto's chest opened up a mouth as it swallowed the rods, literally feasting on them. A tongue came out of his chest mouth and grabbed Minma around the waist before lifting him up and smashing him through the ground before pulling him back toward Naruto as Naruto slammed his skull right into his. As Minma was sent staggering back. "You remember the first day on the field when I first headbutted you," said Naruto. Memories. Minma came rushing forward as Naruto ducked under the kick. Naruto reached back up and grabbed Minma by the face as he lifted him up, but Minma vanished in a poof of smoke. The real Minma burst from under the ground, a black katana in hand as he swinged it. As Naruto reached up and caught the blade before it could slice his neck, Minma pulled the blade back instantly as he threw it up in the air. He then flashed through hand sign as he released a torrent of lightning from both of his hands before cutting back his blade. The lightning came speeding towards Naruto. As Naruto waved his hand, an empty void of darkness opened up and swallowed the lightning. "Have it back," said Naruto. As the void opened up once again, as he snapped his finger, it was large. The bolt of lightning came magnified, it destroyed the ground. Minma flashed away from it. As he raised his hand, "Planetary devastation," he said, as Naruto was picked off the ground. The rocks slammed into him as they sealed him inside before sending him up in the air. Minma had then transformed into a massive cannon as it started to glow. The power that he was gathering at the tip as he released it. The explosion as the beam shot through the air, slamming right through the planetary devastation as the whole thing exploded. Meanwhile, Jashin was moving towards Gaara as Gaara slammed her hands together. The ground trembled. 2 demonic arms that were larger than Konoha emerged. The arms were titanic as they could be seen where the army was fighting as they came down, as they squashed the ground where Jashin was. But they were all burned by black flames. As Jashin emerged unscathed, she looked towards Gaara. "You're still holding back on me. I must say, you have truly grown strong from the naive girl you once was. To think that Naruto was only using you in the beginning." Gaara laughed. "What's this? Trying to get me to turn on him? To say I was being used in all of this?" "Well, you're right. I was kind of naive in the past. But things have changed. And your betrayal started all of it. So in a way I should thank you for what you did. You cold-hearted, sniveling bitch. You know you're the reason why the world, no, the whole universe is gonna change after this very moment. You're the catalyst that causes change." As Jashin raised both of her hands, dark spears emerged as they shot towards Gaara. Gaara raised her hands as a wall of chaotic black edges slammed into them, as it groined against each other, ripping apart the earth. Both of the attacks cancel out each other as Gara slammed her hand once again. This time, two demonic arms emerged from her back. They were made from nothing but shadow of darkness that is slammed into the earth. Hundreds, no probably thousands of arms shot towards Jashin. Their nails razor sharp as they tried to dig into her flesh. Jashin leaped up in the air as she created a massive tornado. She dropped it right in the center as they tear apart every single one of those arms. She then finally dropped back down to the ground. The moment she did though, hellfire erupted from the ground, forcing her to leap away as this hellfire was not normal. It was almost becoming black. The tainted, foul hellfire was no longer normal fiery color, as it separated like a livable source before it started to change and twist into a giant beast. It had almost 1,000 arms. One small, very small eye in the center of its forehead, the arms riding over its body. As Gara ascended towards Jashin, Jashin raised her hand as a creature erupted from the ground. All of the souls of the damned and the dead emerging into one titanic beast. It had no face. It had two arms. The arms, if you look closely, you could see that it had razor sharp tips all over the flesh, as the two massive creatures slammed into each other as they fought for dominance. Meanwhile, as Minma watched as the smoke and everything cleared away, standing there in mid-air was Naruto, as he coughed before brushing himself off. I must say, that was quite the show, Minma. All that knowledge about all that power flowing into your mind. You must think that you're truly powerful now, don't you? Minma said a voice. As Minma turned to see his friends, he cursed. They shouldn't be here, as it was the rookies of the class. There was Shikamaru, there was Ino, there was Choji, there was Shino, there was Sakura. All of them were there. As Minma didn't want them to be here. This was worse than he thought. Even with this boost of power, he was not doing much. No, go back, he said. But all of them had already made up their mind. They would help him in this war, no matter what. They wouldn't allow their friend to suffer like he has been suffering for the past couple of years. And all of them had a grudge settled with Naruto for the things that he had done, the people that he has killed. The last one to arrive was Lee, his body cloaked in the gates. His hands were stained with black demonic blood. He has been fighting off the demons as well. As Naruto heard chaos all around him, he turned towards the two massive creatures that were fighting. Seems Jashin still hasn't released her true power yet. Probably still holding back to get herself ready for Mise and Naruto. But she should know, neither has Gara. Naruto felt something coming as bugs came towards him, threatening to swallow him whole, and that they did as he did not move. As Shikamaru looked around, underneath he said, a hand burst from the ground, almost grabbing onto Ino. But luckily, she was able to move back as Sakura slammed her fist where the hand was coming out. But she hit absolutely nothing. She was confused. As she looked around, where is he? Said Choji as he looked around. Choji then saw something over to the side. There he is as he slammed his hand together. His body expanded. No, Choji, stop! Yelled Minma, but it was too late as Choji leaped forward. Suddenly, he stopped spinning. Choji, said Shikamaru. Something was wrong. Choji Ino called out. Choji's body unfurled as he had a black sword in his chest. As Naruto held on to the grip. Too slow, said Naruto as he pulled his blade out of Choji. Naruto ducked as a green blur passed over his head. Lee then came back with a spinning kick. As it whipped through the air, Naruto brought up his hand as it clashed against his arm. Instantly, Naruto felt his shadow being tampered with. As Shikamaru grabbed him, as Shikamaru was angry, shadow stitching, as it wrapped through Naruto tightly, threatening to peer into his skin. Seeing his chance, Minma waved his hand in the air. as he created a massive shuriken Rasengan. Move, he said. Lee was about to jump, but he had to give him way, as Shikamaru kept him blind. Do it, he shouted, as Minma launched the Rasengan shuriken as it whipped through the air. It slammed into Naruto as it decimated the area. Lee was fast enough to grab Choji's body and leaped out of there. As he came crashing down beside Ino, Ino had tears in her eyes. Choji. They then heard someone gasp. Sakura Ino cried out. As Naruto stood in front of Sakura's hand, was inside for her stomach. Sakura spat blood. The seal on her forehead activated as she pulled back her fist. You still can move, said Naruto, as he grabbed her by the face and picked her off the earth. He then brought her body down. Boom! As he decimated her head down through the ground. When he brought his hand up, there was nothing but flesh and gore over it. Sakura's head had exploded from the impact. Lee's eyes went wide in rage as he moved towards Naruto with a new intense speed. He bloody slammed right into Naruto, but yet Naruto did not move. As Naruto twisted around, grabbing Lee's left arm, he didn't even hesitate as he tore it out of its socket. He then blacked Lee right in his face with it. Before grabbing him, before he could fly away, he then picked him up off the ground and flew straight up. He then came down and smashed him in the earth. Lee cried out in pain as Naruto stomped right through his skull. Bugs once again tried to envelop him, but Naruto vanished as he appeared behind Shino. Snap! Shino collapsed to the ground, dead. Minma rushed in with a speed that he's never tapped into before, his rage taking over. But Naruto ducked right under his fist and grabbed his arm as he twisted and launched him away. As Minma was sent seeing as he crashed over to the side, Naruto then felt something trying to invade his mind. I got him, said Ino. But suddenly she started to cry as her body started to burn. Ino, said Shikamaru. But before he could reach her, her body burned away into dust. As Naruto looked down, that was, well, not really entertaining, said Naruto. I must say I'm disappointed. As he sighed, he then vanished as he appeared behind Shikamaru. Well, said Shikamaru, this was a drag. He couldn't get to finish his sentence as Naruto sliced his head clean off. When Minma finally appeared back, everyone was dead. Oh Minma, said Naruto, your friends are a bit entertaining, but not too much, so I had to kill them. Hope you understand. Minma's eyes were boiling with rage. As Naruto stepped towards him, they were parted by a few feet as the ground shook. The sky split open as Naruto looked over towards the side where Gaara was facing off against Jashin. Well, seems like they're kicking up a notch. As explosion was all around them, but the two boys' eyes were focused on each other. I've always hated you, said Minma. You have, said Naruto. You were nothing but a despicable monster that I ought to purge from this world. But yet every time I tried to find a way, I was always blindsided. Again and again and again. But today is the final straw. I won't leave here until you're dead. Well, I guess you're not leaving. You know, Minma, throughout all of this, I've never actually tried to kill you. I mean, I had once when we're in the tournament. Well, my mind was not there. You see, the thing is, I don't want to kill you, or Mom, or our sister, or our father. You're the people I hate the most. That bitch woman Jashin might have betrayed me, but you people were my family. In the beginning, I was being corrupted. And after a while, I was able to get a sense of my own, and I begged you guys to save me. But yet you thought that I was still a monster I was. You didn't even give it a second chance. And from that day on, I gave in to the darkness that was inside of me. And I did everything to make your life a living hell, all of you. But I don't want to kill you, you see, I want you to suffer. That is why you'll be here in the end with me. When I send your souls down to the pits of hell, where you will suffer for eternity, there will be no rest, no freedom. You will suffer until you take your last breath on this earth, and then I will drag you down to the pits of hell. And that is where you remain, boiling, stewing in madness until you're so broken. There's nothing left, nothing at all. When I see that last gleam of sparkle in your eye vanish, then and only then, I will incinerate you into nothingness. It doesn't matter what you say, said Menma, we will never give up. We will not stop fighting until the last man remains. And even then, we will fight until our last breath. Look around you, Menma. Your friends are dying. As Menma heard the screams of his people, one by one they are being killed. My demons, they're already dead, Menma. They're soulless creatures that just want mayhem and chaos. But your friends, living human beings, who wish to live but yet, they're all going to be slaughtered here. I just massacred your friends. Do you think there's a happy ending, Menma? Do you think there's any way in the world where you will come through this happy? Come through this alive? As Naruto felt something coming, Menma vanished as a Bicho bomb slammed into the area. As the Kyuubi, Zana, landed right beside Menma. Menma looked over towards her. Thought you might need a hand, she said, as she was in her human form. But the Bicho bomb was not exploding that they realized. It started to shrink and shrink until it was nothing but a tiny ball. As Naruto bounced it up and down in his palm. Here, have this back. As he threw it, it enlarged in a second, larger than the thing that she threw, and exploded. You're finally here, said Naruto. It's been a while. Yes, it has. Heard you're trying to take over the world, said Zana. Yeah? Well, I can't allow you to do that. Let me guess, because you want to protect your precious Jashin. That's, and I kind of live in the world. Guess you're right, said Naruto. Well, screw you. Screw you too, she said. I'm glad we could have had this nice little chat, said Naruto. Before I turn you into nothing but chakra. Yeah, it's been a while after all. Meanwhile, on the battlefield. What's going on? Akumo Shinobi said, confused as he watched the demons retreating. Did we win? They're running. The right Kage was still alive. The other Kages were still on their feet. Injured, but alive. Minato was coated in black blood. His two kunais had ripped and teared through so much enemies. They're retreating as the people started to celebrate. But something was wrong. Something is wrong, said Mito. Yeah, I have a bad feeling, said Ami. As everyone watched as demons started to fled. Let's go after them! As the army started to move. Let's send these things back to hell. Everyone was fleeing, going after them. That seemed like the right situation right here to do. To make sure that they were dead. As the army chased after the demons. Meanwhile, Gora landed beside Naruto. There was a huge slash in her arm, and one in her stomach. Did she hurt you? Said Naruto. Yes, a bit. Would you kiss it to make it better? Asked Gora. Sure thing, said Naruto as he gave her a kiss, right where the wound was. And it healed up. Perfect, she said. As Gora looked over. Oh, hello, Zana. It's been a long time. Yes, it has, Gora. Oh, Menma. So you're still a bitch boy as usual. As Menma clenched his fists. Jashin then came back. Why run? It was just getting nice. As Jashin's appearance had changed, her hair was floating up in the air. Her body was releasing a dark purple aura. So you're finally tapping into that true power, said Naruto. It was then that Minato arrived, followed by Kushina, followed by the Raikage, the Mizukage, and the others. Oh, you guys are finally here, said Naruto. This ends now, said Minato. You've lost. Your army is retreating. Retreating? Oh, you mean I call them back, said Naruto. Knew something was wrong, said Ami. And that you were right, said Naruto. You see, I told them to stop killing your kind. After all, we do need some of you for the games that we're gonna have. But, not this much. And I figure, it's about time that I break your hope. No matter what you do, you will never break us, said Minato. I was hoping that you would say that. Gaara flashed away. As she moved away from beside Naruto, Min Manardi's eyes something was wrong. For her to be moving away, everything went quiet. The ocean stopped. Everything just paused. The world stopped moving. Everything was silent. There was nothing, no sound. At Mount Miyaboku, the toads were confused. They felt the nature energy leaving them. Something was wrong. But not just them, all over the world. The natural energy of the world was going away. Something was ripping it apart. As a wave of darkness spread from the center of the earth core, spreading to the lands. The mist of darkness was spreading all over the nations. But not only that, the skies changed from red to dark. Nothing but absolutely darkness that swallowed the sky pitch black. All the demons howled in excitement. The ones that remained, that is. Several of Naruto's top generals that hadn't yet joined the battle. They were the ones in control of this demon army, as he was the one that gave them their position. Look for that smile on their face. It seems like it's finally time. Well, let's get a better view of the show, shall we? As they start to move out. As everyone felt it, something was coming. As Naruto laughed, his laughter quickly turning demonic, wicked, dark. His eyes vanished. Not just that, his face went blank. His whole body just vanished. Until there was nothing remain but a silhouette. It's time that I show you all what you are fighting against. The ground started to split apart, hands emerged from the ground core. Screams of the dying and the dead waver in the air as they all reside inside of him. Several eyes opened up in the sky as people started quaking their boots, some even peeing themselves, as the red demonic eyes looked down towards them. Light split from the heavens and slammed into Naruto's silhouette as it rose him high above everyone. Judgment Day is upon us. His voice echoed everywhere. And now, I judge you all and sentence you to hell on earth for eternity. It was then that they all disappeared. They were all gone. And the world was quiet. Everyone that was on the battlefield was just gone, teleported somewhere else. But guys, to be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next portion, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.